Hi friends, welcome to this latest episode of the Nationalist View. Today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Chandra D Bhatt from Nepal. Dr. Bhatt, thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule and joining this conversation.
Thank you very much for inviting me in your program.
Dr. Bhatt has an extensive experience basically as a political scientist, as a political analyst. He frequently appears on a number of international platforms also, and he contributes through his comments and understanding of Nepalese politics, geopolitics, and South Asia. So today we are going to talk about Nepal specifically because Nepal is going ahead for an election on March 5th, where the country is going to elect a new government. Dr. Bhatt, my first question is basically, that what is fundamentally different about March 5 elections compared to the previous polls in Nepal, especially, after the recent wave of protests and which, forced or compelled the earlier government to step down. And some commentators also feel that, it brought some kind of a political instability also.
Yeah, very interesting question. In fact, you see, Nepal was supposed to go for an election in 2027. That's a normal election. But Nepal now is heading for an election in March next month, and there are certain reasons for that. In September 2025, Nepal witnessed a major movement, which is normally known as a Genji protest. And that Genji protest, in fact, has changed the fundamental structure of Nepali politics, we can say. The political landscape has changed. And this election basically is building on the bedrock of that Genji movement. So before we talk about elections, I think it would be good to understand the reasons behind the Genji movement, because that will give some idea why Nepal is heading for elections and what can we expect from these elections. I think, the Genji movement basically was a frustrations, of the youths. Nepal's politics basically has been, it was not really going well for a long period of time. Instability was there for a long period of time. 35 years, only few people were there in the governance. They were capturing not only the political sphere, but also economic and social sphere. The opportunities were somehow not really available for the youths, economic opportunities. In fact, there was some sort of mass resignation of the people from the state and society. Every day, around 3,000 plus youths were leaving the country, but government at the helm of power was not really concerned about their agonies, we can say, the type of problems that youths have been facing was not really addressed by the successive governments in Nepal. And on top of that, all of a sudden, the government, then headed by KP Sharma Oli, from the CPN Communist, CPN Party, United Marxist and Leninist Party, they imposed a ban on social media. And the initial trigger point was to lift ban on social media, but that did not really happen. Then they came out on the street on 8th and 9th September, and around altogether, if we calculate the numbers, around 76 youths have lost their lives. And altogether, 5% of total GDP Nepal lost during the 40 hours. Many things happened. Not only the downfall of the government, but the old political parties were also forced to, so they quit the government. So that was a major change in Nepal's politics during the ancient times. You can say that, Lenin once said, there are weeks, nothing happens, and there are days, weeks happen. So during the last, during the 40 hours time, Nepal witnessed major changes. And the Genji's major demand then was to have a good governance in the country. They were not really seeking for immediate elections, but the situations went to such an extent that government collapsed, and the new government was formed under the leadership of Sushila Karki, and then the election was announced on 5th of March, for 5th of March. So Nepal is heading for an election, but this election is special in a sense that we can also call it a mini referendum. But again, they really don't have a major agendas. The election primarily is fought between two factors: old political parties, old leaders, new political parties, and new leaders. So they don't have any specific agendas as such. A lot of these agendas which Gen Zs have raised then were hijacked, we can say. The major narrative now is the old people and old political parties are not really good, and the new ones are good. They're good. So they have been like, somehow the public sentiment has changed this time around, because they have been facing a lot of problems on economic sector, on political sector, on social sector. So they basically are looking for some sort of change. They know that the new political parties also don't have any specific agendas which can really bring about positive changes into their life, but they really wanted to punish the old political parties, for the political mess, economic mess, and social mess they have created during the last 35 years. So if we look at this background, we can definitely come to the conclusion that this election is fundamentally different than the elections that Nepal has witnessed in the past. So, of course, every election, there will definitely this will bring some changes. But at the end of the day, this election is really going to be very, very heavy for the traditional old political parties who have contributed significantly with regard to the democratization of this country. Now, the old political parties, or the traditional political parties for that matter, who normally used to be termed as mainstream political parties, now they've been marginalized, and new political parties have become the new mainstream parties. So these two narratives, basically old versus new, the Nepal is basically the election is going to be fought on these two factors. And the Gen Z movement has also brought some other changes as well. If you look at the traditional political parties, there has been some sort of changes as a new people, the leadership changes, particularly in the Nepali Congress. The former President and the Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba was forced to resign, in fact, unceremoniously, we can say. And the new leadership has emerged. Same thing happened in other political parties as well. CPN UML, which is the second largest political party in the country and who was heading the government then, they also had their conventions, but there is not really a real leadership change in a real sense of the term. Same person has been leading the party as a president, and the other political parties also introducing some sort of changes in their political structures. So by and large, Gen Z movement has provided a lot of opportunities for the political parties to introduce reform in their political structures also as well, which was not really happening otherwise for a long period of time. Of course, they were holding elections, they were holding conventions, but the same people were ruling, controlling the political parties as well as the government. Like there was some sort of recycling of the people as well as the recycling of the policies for the last 35 years. So this has basically, created a lot of frustration in Nepali society, and that frustration finally spilled in the streets of Kathmandu, and that led to the change that forced the government to conduct these elections. So this election, a lot of hopes are pinned on this election. So this election, people by and large think that will bring some sort of new leadership, which will basically take care of the people of this country. Basically, they don't really expect much from the state. Anyone, people everywhere, so they basically some sort of basic minimum requirement should be fulfilled from the part of of the government, at least economic activities, if they create some sort of environment for that, that certainly will be great. Even if that did not happen, the governance, the corruptions should come down, and the opportunities for the youths in the political parties. There was one word was circulating. It was really the word has become really viral. Nepo kids and Nepo babies. That was quite popular during the Gen Z protest. The politics, it's not only in Nepal but in other South Asian countries as well. The children of the political leaders, they basically have been not only capturing the politics as just because they were the children, they were born to the political families, but they were also getting other opportunities as well, economic opportunities and prestige and many things. So by and large, so all these conditions has created a lot of resentment in Nepali society, and that led to this election. So this election basically is looking for some sort of real change in politics as well as in polity.
So, Dr. Bhatt, you talked about, now it's kind of a contest between the old guard and the new guard, if we put it basically broadly.
Yes.
So, how is the mood among, voters and particularly the youth? So, can they significantly alter the traditional power balance between, major political forces?
This is another interesting question, I would say. You see, people are quite fed up with the world political parties, the way they have been running the country for the last couple of decades. So people are simply fed up. Public sentiment is such that they really don't want to listen to the old political guard, as you said. They don't really want to old political parties. Of course, old political parties, they have been there in Nepali politics for a long period of time. They have also contributed significantly, as I said earlier, in the democratization process of the country. But the new political parties somehow were able to stole the hearts and minds of the people at the moment, I would say. Although they also don't have any specific agendas. None of these new political parties have come up any agendas that would provide some sort of relief to the people. I just wanted to give you one example: the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, which is the most popular party at the moment. The party is not really headed by the Balen Shah, who was the former mayor of Kathmandu metropolitan city, but he is the leader of that political party. That political party too has not really come up with any significant programs. They said they want to create 12 lakhs jobs in the next 5 years, but how do they want to do that? They don't have any programs for that, right? So despite all these things, people are not really willing to listen to the promises that all political parties are again trying to make because the public sentiment is they basically want to this time around, I don't know what will happen afterwards, but at least punish the old political parties for the mistakes, for the mistake they have committed in the past. So public sentiment by and large is in favor of the new political parties. Again, it's an election, how things will pan out, how the electoral results will come out. We cannot really say anything at the moment, but as of now, situation is in favor of new political parties. But the way election is being contested, is being enjoyed, the political parties are doing the campaigning, is not really that encouraging. Primarily because neither the old political parties nor the new political parties have anything specific for the people. They are still using this the binaries, old versus new, and which is not really going to helpful in the long term, not only for the political parties but for the political health of the state as well, right? So these types of debates will not really be helpful. But still, because of the 35 years, few political parties, and they were everywhere. So they really did not, people really did not like that. So they're looking for some sort of change in Nepali politics. So which perhaps can be expected from this election.
Dr. Bhatt, as you talked about democratization of Nepal, so all of us know that Nepal moved from a monarchy-based, system to a democratic system. But now there are multiple reports which are coming out that there is some sort of a renewed pro-monarchy sentiment also in parts of Nepal. Not an overwhelming, but some parts of Nepal and some kind of a renewed pro-monarchy sentiment. So actually, how serious is this trend? And could this translate into real political gains? In elections or after the elections? The whole idea of asking this question is this trend going to stay, gain momentum the way things are moving?
Very interesting. In fact, the issue of monarchy is not really going to die down so easily in Nepal. Because there are political parties who are contesting the elections as well, in the name of monarchy, not only in the name of monarchy, but also in the name of declaring Nepal as a Hindu state as well. So we have got a conservative, they have been termed as a conservative political parties in Nepali political landscape. I think I should tell about this as well. And as you said, they are in some parts of the country, and they certainly, somehow, although there is a political party who has got a strong feeling for monarchy, but they're not really gaining the momentum. The last year they were, it was the monarchy movement was really it was going into a different direction. But despite all these, there is a political party, there is a sentiment for monarchy, but monarchy is not really going to take that momentum. I don't think it's really going to come back. But again, everything depends on political parties, how political parties perform even after the election, the new political parties. So basically, all these issues, monarchical issues, these issues are, even the new political parties are thriving on the failures of the old political parties. So if the new political parties fail to deliver in the future, we cannot say anything. Anything. Our politics is a art of possibilities. Anything can happen. But as of now, I really don't think monarchy will come back. And neither the sentiment is going to die down so easily, because there are sizable number of people who feel that Nepal would have been better had there been a monarchy, because they think that it was more stable. Than monarchy was quite successful in managing the geopolitics as well, in managing the political situations internally as well as as well externally as well. So there are sizable number of people who has got a positive feelings towards monarchy. Even the younger generations have got some sort of positive vibes for monarchy. But still, you need a coherent and a strong voice who can really lead that movement. You need the people. You need the strong leadership for that, and we really don't have that type of leadership. The monarchical political party is there, but that party does not have that charisma which can really draw attention of the people, so that it can really yield into the political outcomes.
Dr. Bhatt, given the highly fragmented kind of political landscape when it comes to Nepal, so what kind of government, as a political analyst, as a political scientist, and you have been watching things very closely, and you are there on ground zero also. So what kind of government is Nepal likely to see after March 5? So is it going to be a stable coalition, or the political churn is going to continue? Of course, we are not astrologers. We
Yes,
cannot
yes,
predict, but
yes.
what's
That's
the
true.
sense which you are getting?
That's true. We're not really astrologer, but as you said, it's a really a matter of concern for all of us, and people are quite worried about it. Though they are voting for a new political parties, but they don't have much expectation from the new political parties as well. If you look at the composition of the political parties, you have got different types of political parties, and it appears that none of these political parties will be able to garner absolute majority to govern, to make a government in Kathmandu, at the center. So if the political parties, if a single political party fails to make fail to secure a absolute majority to form the government, in that case we need to have a coalition. And we have seen the coalitions in the past which have not really worked well. We've got an experience of dealing with the coalitions, but very the experience is very bitter. because none of our coalitions has really fulfilled their tenure in the office. And so it depends what type of political parties who comes into the power. That becomes the most important part. Let's suppose if the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, which is the new political parties, if that party becomes the largest political party, not the majority. And it's most unlikely that none of these political parties will secure majority. But if that party becomes the largest one, then it has to have a coalition partner. It has to seek the coalition partner. Then who is it going to have a coalition? That's quite the most important part. In the past, we have got different types of coalition. Nepali Congress used to have a coalition with the left political parties, and somehow those coalitions were not really working. So if the Rashtriya Swatantra Party becomes the largest, or Nepali Congress becomes the largest, if they form the coalition government, it's most likely that coalition will stable, primarily because they have got a similar political ideology, because they are not really pull apart in terms of their political ideology. If the number one political parties have had to make a coalition with the political party which does not, which have got a different political ideology, that will create difficulties again. Then also it depends on the coalition framework. We do have a coalition. We've been forming the coalition. We've got that culture of having coalition government, but we did not really we failed to develop the coalition framework, which is most important for the success of any coalition government. So it depends on the type of the political parties who comes into the power, with whom they are going to form the coalition, whether they are going to form the coalition with the similar political parties with a similar political ideology, or with a different political ideology. That's second point. I think third and most important part is whether they are really going to be committed with the coalition or not. That's the most important part. And how do they want to form the coalitions? What are the basic ingredient of that coalition partnership will decide the future of the government. But what I can tell you now, looking at the political history of this country, it's most likely that the Nepal is not really going to be stable as we expect. The instability is going to be there because none of these political parties, there are issues. This one, if they don't have ideological differences, there will be differences in terms of managing the heads, because everybody even the new political parties, there are ambitious people who really wanted to get into the helm of power immediately. So they're looking for a quick return. So if that tendency is there, I don't think we will have a political stability as well. Second point, I think, which is quite important again, is there is a trust deficit. All these political parties, as I said, they are campaigning on the basis of on binary basis. If they're not really able to bridge the differences, or if they're not really being able to cultivate the trust between and among the political parties, that will create a problem for the sustainable government in Kathmandu.
So, Dr. Bhatt, my last question is, you have laid it out in a very crystal clear manner, the political landscape of Nepal. So, from a regional perspective, now if we see, how will this election outcome impact Nepal's relations with India and China? And how it is going to impact the broader strategic balance in South Asia, because Nepal is a very, very important country, placed geopolitically, geostrategically also.
Yeah, principally, whoever comes into the power, they will have to have a very cordial relations with both the neighbors, China and India, because if we cannot have a good relations with India and China, I don't think we will really be able to move ahead. That's the reality. We have to accept it. I'm sure political parties will have to understand this reality. I'm quite confident that the new political parties, if they form government and they come into the power, there will be some sort of compulsion, the necessity, I would say, and I will not use the word compulsion. They definitely will have to have a good relations with both the neighbors as well as the distant neighbors, the US or the Western countries as well, because Nepal is dependent on the neighborhood for many things, for economic assistance, for developmental assistance, for many other stuffs as well, even for the so for all these things, I think we will need to have they will need to have a good relations at the neighborhood and beyond that. But again, as you said, the geopolitical factor is the most important. Many people in this country think that the Gen Z movement was a part of they see the geopolitical hands behind the Gen Z movement as well. So if the geopolitical prevails and the new political parties, they somehow they get more closer to the West, or to the US mainly. That's the concern of the people here. I don't think that government will have the luxury of running the full term, having, they will be able to stay in a full tenure. So there is a people are quite concerned about this as well, because we really don't know, we don't have a experience of dealing with these new political parties. First, second, they've not really spelled out their foreign policy issues, how they really wanted to they wanted to conduct their foreign policies, both at the neighborhood and beyond that. So this is quite an important part. So if they fail in having a balanced relations at the neighborhood, that will really be problematic for Nepal. A lot of government in the past have failed, or they have been brought down just because they were not really able to strike a fine balance at the neighborhood. So geopolitical factors are always there. So it will be in the interest of the government, of Nepali government or the Nepali state, to have a very friendly relations, particularly with, I will stress it, I will underline it, with India as well as with China, because these are two very, very important neighbors for Nepal. India is even more important for us, because we have got a open border, we have got a different, our relations is spread in a different format. It's a very different type of relations which we really cannot explain. So that will be our necessity. I think we need to have a very good relations with both the neighbors. Also, the geopolitically, they should not be a geopolitical pawn, which many people are suspecting. Perhaps this will also be the deciding factor in the upcoming elections as well. People are quite already worried whether they should elect the new political parties or not, because they have got an experience of working with the world political parties. Old leaders, of course, they have committed a lot of mistakes internally, but they did not really make a blunder in the foreign policy aspect. So foreign policy will be quite important for the upcoming government, for the success or failure of the government in Kathmandu in the days to come.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatt. You have kind of demystified the Nepal elections and the Nepal political landscape in a very, I would say in a fantastic way for our viewers. And we hope to host you back again soon. And thank you, viewers, for watching. We'll be back soon with another show and another conversation. Thank you, Dr. Bhatt, once again.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.